Hey, my name is Ms. Sharp. I'm the owner of Dreams Gone Mobile, and I am here to talk about what you need to do and all the steps that you need to take to get your food truck started. Step one, you have to make sure that you have your menu. You don't necessarily have to build it out completely, but you want to have an idea of what you're cooking. Usually like to start with like 7 to 12 items tops. Typically, you want to stick to the main things that you're cooking. So if you're cooking a lot of chicken, try to get things that are all with chicken in it or whatever the case is. If you're cooking a lot of steak, get everything that has steak on it. So that way it's easier for you. You're not buying a bunch of different proteins. Step 2 is making sure you find a reliable builder. I can't stress this enough. There are so many con artists out there. That's just how I'm gonna put it. There's so many con artists and there's so many people that are building food trucks in Mexico specifically that are shipping them out here, getting them for a higher cost. Obviously, it probably costs 10 grand to build it out in Mexico, but over here it costs you probably double, triple that, right? So you really have to avoid those things. To find a good and resourceful builder, you need to make sure you look into the reviews, number one. Get in a group, a food truck builder group, or get in a food truck group in general. Make sure you ask questions about these food truck builders and who they've used, their experience with them. Network with other people. The other recommendation I would do is making sure you ask a ton of questions like checking on warranties. Are there any factory warranties with the equipment? How long is the turnaround time to get the food truck built? These are questions that you definitely want to ask, because if you don't ask those questions, you're going to be left in the air and you're going to be investing thousands of dollars just to find out that you're getting ripped off in the end. Step 3, location, 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 AKA your commissary. Some of the things that you can look for in a commissary all depends on your preference. If you are looking for a location where you're not going to have a generator, so you want to plug into the building, then you want to look for something they're going to offer you the opportunity to plug into the building, and also you want to have water hookup. So there's different kinds of commissaries, or what would be considered a commissary. One of them is a commercial kitchen. That's probably the most expensive route. The commercial kitchens are essentially used for people who prefer to store their food somewhere and prep their food there and then go on the truck to cook it. But you can essentially be categorized as a self-sufficient food truck where you can actually just prep all your food there. However, one of the struggles that a lot of people face is, do I want to go to the store the day before or the day of, wake up super early and store all my food there and then cook on there? Or do I just want to have a set location to just store all my food so I can just prep there and then cook on the truck? Another type of commissary that you can look into is a gas station, right? A lot of gas stations naturally have a kitchen, or they'll have like their basic mop sink, and they're already licensed. Obviously, if they're operating, then they're licensed. So you want to look into gas stations that have either like a little mini mart or some type of kitchen or something where you can just say, hey, I'm gonna be parked here and I'm gonna just hook up my water and run my electricity, or just hook up my water. At the end of the day, what inspectors want is to make sure you have fresh water and that it's in a commercial location. Inspectors don't like you doing anything at a residence. So if you're gonna be at a residence, it's an absolute no. You definitely need to make sure that you have this established way before you go ahead and submit the application, the licensing, and the permitting for your food truck, because that is something that is required. Inspectors want to know, where are you getting your fresh water from? Where are you going to be dumping your dirty water from or at? And where are you going to be storing your food? Are you going to be prepping on the food truck? Are you going to be storing any food? There's so many things that go into a commissary location. So you need to make sure that you have that established. And there are so many ways that you can do that. But I always recommend making sure you have that established before you submit your permits and your licensing. Step 4 is submitting your licensing and your applications here in Florida. With that, you're gonna go onto the DPBR website. That is the Department of Business and professional regulations. And you're gonna go under hotels and restaurants to find your mobile vehicle application. On there, there's 2 types of applications you will need to submit with your plan review. That's gonna be the application for the licensing, where you're gonna be putting in all your business information, attaching your menu, and making sure you include the build out and the type of materials that your baseboards are made out of, your floor, and the type of the inside of the trailer is made out of, and you're gonna submit your floor plans with that. On top of that, you're gonna also submit your commissary location application, which is why it's super important to make sure that you have step 3 already established before submitting your licensing and all your paperwork. Final step, which is step 5, is inspection day. During the inspection, the inspector is gonna check a couple of things. Number 1, they're gonna make sure they check for cleanliness. A lot of people that are getting their food truck built, obviously they're not gonna go too in depth. But if you were to buy a food truck that was used, then they would check for like any type of rodents, any type of pests, anything like that. So they check for cleanliness. They also check for the temperature of your hot water and your cold water. So they'll have a thermometer where they're sticking that into the water to make sure that it reaches a certain temperature while it's getting hot and as well as getting cold. And then they also do check your refrigeration, making sure that it reaches a certain temperature, because when you're having your food stored during the day, they need to make sure that your food is being stored properly with the temperature that it needs to be set at. I always tell my clients, make sure you prepare an hour prior to, have all your equipment on in regards to the refrigeration, make sure your water is hot and running, make sure you got cold water, all those things. So if you find yourself getting stuck with the application process, or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me with the link in my bio by shooting me an email.